This is going to be quite a long intro, so if you guys want to see the predictions first and then maybe see the intro later, the timestamp on the screen right now is when I start explaining my score predictions. I can only apologise for not uploading at all this week. I did have a Road to Glory video planned on the Wednesday. I had it all finished and everything, but the computer crashed and I lost all the footage and I just wasn't motivated to make the video all over again and maybe upload it for Thursday. So unfortunately you're not going to have a Road to Glory this week, but the video will be there next week. That's a promise. We've got a lot of news to cover just before we get started. The first bit of news, I wish Andre Wisdom a speedy recovery. Very shocking for what happened with him recently. I wish him and his family well. The second bit of news is on Wigan Athletic. They've entered administration, much to everyone's surprise, and they're going to receive a 12-point deduction. If they're not relegated, they'll receive a 12-point deduction and could potentially be relegated from that because it's a substantial number. But if they're relegated, they're going to receive a 12-point deduction on next season in League One. A very harsh punishment on Wigan Athletic, and it goes to show that maybe not many football companies may be safe from COVID-19. We may see some more clubs, maybe especially down in the lower leagues, enter administration as well. Latest news, up to 12 parties are interested in buying Wigan Athletic. I just hope they don't end up the same fate as Bury Football Club. You know, you wouldn't believe that a team that have won the FA Cup 7 years ago would ever be in that fate. So I do wish Wigan Athletic well, and I really do hope they stay up. If you look at the table now, Wigan are now realistically on 38 points, 2 points behind Luton Town. So they are practically 6 points from safety. Not an impossible gap to breach, but it's going to be doubly as difficult now, especially with all the bottom teams picking up so many points. Third thing I'd like to say a quick thank you to everyone who subscribed to the channel, because we have finally hit the target of 150 subscribers. We're on 153 right now. And I don't know what's gone on for the past week and on the Monday, but whatever you're doing, guys, it's working. I really would like to thank you guys. The response I've got on my last two videos as well has been overwhelmingly positive and just amazing. So thank you guys so much for that. My target now is to hit 200 subscribers as soon as possible. And one final thing I'd like to mention in the intro before I get started. Tomorrow is a very special day. It will be exactly 1 year since I started YouTube on the 4th of July 2019. This shy little guy with really bad hair was making his first appearance on the YouTube platform. Absolutely unbelievable that it's already been a year, and boy, my image and time has changed, definitely. And you may see a video of me reacting to my first video very soon. I'm definitely thinking of doing it. We had a very dramatic midweek, so I will also discuss what went on in midweek. I'm also going to predict the League One playoff semi-finals and the Premier League fixtures in the second half of the video. I'm also going to incorporate FIFA 20 in my score predictions as well, but I'm doing it a little bit differently. There were so many 0-0 draws in FIFA. There were actually up to 7 0-0 draws, so there's not going to be a lot of FIFA footage I'm going to show, but I'm going to incorporate it differently. If you guys like what you see, want to see more of me, please make sure you do give this video a like. It'll be tremendously appreciated. If you're new around here, welcome to the channel. If you haven't done, please subscribe to the channel. It really does help. Liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing, all of that really helps. But without any further ado, let's get started and predict this weekend's championship games. So the first game to predict is tonight's game, Charlton versus Millwall. I think this is going to be a really tight game actually. It is a London derby as well, so I think it could be quite a cagey affair, should be quite a competitive game. Charlton played out arguably a disappointing 0-0 draw with Cardiff. Charlton did have a couple of chances, but I think they set their game plan really well. They really did restrict Cardiff, and Cardiff were not looking like the free scoring selves that they looked against Leeds and against Preston. As with Millwall, I think they'll be disappointed to draw with Swansea. Bartosz Białkowski with an own goal for not being able to keep out Ryan Brewster's free kick, which is absolutely unfortunate for him. If he did better there, Millwall would have held a much needed win and probably would be in one for favourites to get into the playoffs. But as of now, they've lost a little bit of ground. But I think if they can get a good result in this game, I think they can turn their season around and potentially get there. It's a really tight record, although Charlton have actually not beaten Millwall in their last 6 appearances, so I don't heavily back them in this game. I've been looking at the performances and probably going to edge Millwall, although Charlton are very well defensively organised, so it's not going to be easy. I could see this ending 0-0, but I'm going to edge Millwall. I've got a feeling about them. I'm going to say a 1-0 away victory to Millwall. Before we move on, apparently there's a goal in FIFA 20 simulation for this game. Let's see it now.
The goal went to Millwall. Strong pressure at the end of the game in the 85th minute. Jason Malumbi does incredibly well in the build-up, with little assistance of Jed Wallace and Tom Bradshaw. Sean Williams eventually gets the ball and pokes it through the net, and the game ends by 1-0.
Interesting, so FIFA 20 is actually agreeing with me with Millwall gaining a 1-0 away victory. Let's see if we're both right. The next game is Derby versus Nottingham Forest, and before I move on, I think we already have a goal from FIFA 20 simulation. Let's see it now.
The home side made the breakthrough in the 69th minute, Tom Lawrence, who should be unavailable, supplied it to Jack Marriott, who does a backheel pass, and it's smashed in by Wayne Rooney.
Wayne Rooney putting Derby 1-0 up in this game, but let's see what I think. This is really a tough game to predict. I'm really excited for this game because both of these teams are on insane runs of form. Derby have won 5 games in a row. They're looking unstoppable at the moment. They are the team in form, the best team out of lockdown in my opinion. As for Nottingham Forest, despite having a really shaky start against Sheffield Wednesday, drawing by 1-1, they've looked pretty good and actually very well defensively organised. They've beaten Huddersfield by 3-1 and then have beaten Bristol City by 1-0, although it was helped with Ashley Williams getting a red card because I think Bristol City were applying a little bit of pressure until they got the man down. Nottingham Forest looks very defensively organised and I think they're going to show this in this game. They're away from home as well and they've got a fantastic away record, a very strong away record, and I feel like if any team can beat Derby, it's going to be their East Midlands rivals Nottingham Forest, where Nottingham Forest have already beaten Derby twice this season, so they have every reason to be confident. I'm really struggling to call this game. I think I'm going to eventually edge this to be a 1-1 draw. I actually cannot separate the sides at all. Derby are going to be full of confidence, but I think Nottingham Forest do have a better squad on paper and I think they have a capability of gaining something out of Derby, so I'll say 1-1 and even the points. And before we move on, I think we've got the second and probably the decisive goal in FIFA 20 simulation. Let's see who's got it.
Wayne Rooney wraps up the scoring in the 80th minute as the Forest defence failed to close him down. According to FIFA 20, Derby are the winners of the East Midlands Derby.
Interesting, so FIFA 20 thinks Derby are going to wipe the floor and get a 2-0 home victory with Wayne Rooney scoring a brace, which could very well happen. So very interesting. Let me know what you guys think. The next game we have is Fulham versus Birmingham. I think maybe a closer game than most people may expect. Fulham have finally got the restart that they wanted and they've finally got a win, and it was the score prediction I actually got right. It was Fulham versus Queen's Park Rangers, which was a 2-1 victory to Fulham. And as with you guys, unfortunately none of you got a correct score prediction. It was a very unpredictable midweek, and as I said, I got 2. I had the Fulham and Queen's Park Rangers game, and for the Premier League I got Everton and Leicester right, so I thought I'd throw these correct predictions out there. But as with this game, it's going to be tight. Fulham had a positive win. I thought it was quite head-to-head against Queen's Park Rangers. It was a really end-to-end game, really entertaining. I wished it was live. And as with Birmingham, they had a very poor defeat against a very low on confidence Huddersfield side, although I think Huddersfield getting that early penalty really set the tone of the game, and I think Huddersfield by that point had their tails up and it just really attacked Birmingham. So Birmingham really struggled to fight and they were really uncharacteristically poor in this game. But as a record head-to-head, Birmingham have got a slightly strong record against Fulham, so I'm not sure who to edge here. I think Fulham are not quite the finished article as of yet. Defensively, I think they're a little bit wide open. I'm going to say this game's going to be a 1-1 draw. I might be mad predicting this, but I think Birmingham will have a response to their very poor performance. Pep Clotet knows that this team needs to get some better performances. I know he's no longer going to be their manager at the end of the season, but he might as well get this team prepared for the man to take over his reign as the manager. FIFA's actually predicted this as a 0-0 draw, so we don't have any goals to commentate on FIFA 20, but I think it's a 1-1 draw. Let me know what you think. The next game is Huddersfield versus Preston. I think a really tight game, and already looks like FIFA 20 has got a goal to report. Let's see who scored.
Preston got the breakthrough 31 minutes in. Ben Pearson slotted a perfect pass for Sean Maguire to strike it uncleanly home, his first goal since 10th of December 2019, ending a goal drought of 18 championship games.
Interesting, Preston are 1-0 up, but let's see what I think. Huddersfield, of course, had a fantastic away victory against Birmingham, 3-0, which I think is exactly what they needed. They needed a great performance to have a load of confidence, and I think following that, Wigan have now got their 12-point deduction. I think it gives them a huge boost to survive, and to be honest, with their running, they have some so-so games, but some of them are quite difficult, so Huddersfield definitely need to try and pick up as many points as they can against the really top side. In fact, before we move on to Preston, I think we've got another goal from FIFA 20 simulation. Let's see who scored the second goal.
Preston get the crucial second goal in the 55th minute. It's a poor mistake by Lewis O'Brien. His pass is not strong enough, and Sean Maguire outmuscles Richard Stearman, which is something I didn't expect to come out of my mouth. He had more composure than me on a night out and shot it past Jonas Lossell.
Interesting, Preston are 2-0 up. But what I think about Preston in the lead up to this game, they've been poor coming out of lockdown. You know, apart from Luton, where they looked good in a 70-minute spell, they just have not looked the same. They've looked disjointed, they look slow, they look tired, and I'm not been sure with Alex Neil's team selection either, so I don't know what to say about Preston. And if I'm going to be honest, if I'm going to back the team who I'm more confident thinking that they'll win right now, it would be Huddersfield. But knowing Preston, it is so like them to just eventually get a shock win. I don't know, I think I was edging this to be a draw, but I'm actually going to back Huddersfield following their fantastic performance. Although it will be very like Huddersfield to win one game and then lose the next game straight after. I'm going to say 2-1 Huddersfield. I think a little bit of an instinct. In fact, before we move on to the next game, FIFA 20 has got a final goal to report, a third goal. Let's see who's got it.
Preston finished the game by winning by 3-0. Scott Sinclair finishes the scoring in the 90th minute, poor defending on Huddersfield's part, but a great solo goal.
What a different result between mine and FIFA. FIFA thinks Preston will win by 3-0, which is absolutely crazy. Let's see who's right. The next game is Luton Town versus Reading, two teams that have had very contrasting forms out of lockdown. Luton have had terrific form going out of lockdown, picking points left, right and centre. As I said, they picked up more points in their last 6 games than they have done in their last 22, which is absolutely crazy. And in terms of Reading, they've not had a good start out of lockdown at all. They've really struggled. I think apart from the first half performance against Stoke City, where they themselves have not had a great start either, Reading have looked a little bit slow and a little bit lethargic going forward. If Luton keep up the very strong performances and are as tight defensively as they had, you know, they've not really conceded as many goals as they have done under Graham Jones. I think Nathan Jones could actually get something good out of his side and maybe Luton could survive. And following that, Wigan have had that deduction and Luton are now no longer on the foot of the table. That can give them a huge boost. They're only 3 points off survival, so I do think survival for Luton is possible. If I'm going to back the team format, it's going to have to be Luton. I think it'll be very tight. I could either see this ending as a 0-0 or maybe 1 goal within it, but I think there'll be a couple of goals. I'm going to say a 2-1 victory to Luton. I definitely think Luton have the capability of increasing their form against a poor Reading side. So I'll say 2-1 to Luton, and it looks like FIFA 20 has got 1 goal to report. Let's see who's got the winning and decisive goal.
It is the home side that got the goal. Luton continued their fantastic form. They scored in the 57th minute. Harry Cornick, who was great versus Leeds, put in a perfect through ball to James Collins, who calmly shoots it past Cabral in goal, where Reading continued their very poor start after the restart.
So FIFA agrees with me and thinks that Luton are going to get a home victory against Reading. Very interesting. The next game we have is Blackburn versus Leeds. I think a very key game in terms of promotion race. Blackburn have been a little bit inconsistent going out of lockdown. They've had a couple of great performances. I think back to their performance against Bristol City last week, but then they had a really poor performance against Barnsley, where I would say because they didn't take their first half chances, Barnsley really punished them, and I think the red card of Ben Brereton really killed the flow of the game as well. Was it a red card? I don't think it was a straight red. I think that was a little bit harsh. Leeds are probably going to think they were a little bit disappointing against Luton Town. They really played to Luton Town's game plan. Luton had a terrific game plan, played on the counter-attack, soaked up the pressure. Harry Cornick got them ahead, but Stuart Dallas was the hero, getting the equaliser. Stuart Dallas did pick up an injury. I'm unsure of how much he's going to be out of the season, but I hope it's not a serious one because I think Stuart Dallas is such a talent. I think this game will be very tightly contested. I don't see a lot going into it in terms of the squads. It's not that different in quality, but of course Leeds are going to play a lot of the ball. It's going to depend how Blackburn set up defensively. If they set up well, maybe Blackburn could have a chance. But for me, I think the game will be evened out. I think it'll be a 1-1 draw. The thing is with Leeds, depending on what mentality they have and how Marcelo Bielsa sets the team up. You know, if they go behind against Blackburn, you know, I could even see Blackburn winning. But for me, I think this will be a 1-1 draw. I think this will be a really tough test for Leeds. No goals for FIFA 20. They think it's a 0-0 draw. Let me know what you guys think. But I'm going to tell you now, the next 2 games I'm predicting, FIFA 20 is predicting a 0-0 draw, so don't expect to see footage there. But the next game, it is Brentford versus Wigan. Obviously, 2 teams in strong runs of form. Probably the 2 most informed teams of the Championship, along with Brentford and maybe the likes of Luton Town and Barnsley. Brentford look absolutely unstoppable. They are now 3rd place in the Championship, already overtaking Fulham, who look like they had a little bit of a points gap between them. And I have to say, if Brentford keep going and continue to be as free scoring and as tight defensively as they are, I think Brentford could have a chance to be automatically promoted and potentially could see West Brom or Leeds falling into the playoffs, which would be a big turnaround for the club. As with Wigan, they are in strong runs of form. They beat Stoke by 3-0, but of course, bad luck has to go their way. They're hit with a 12-point deduction. It's going to be interesting how the team respond to this, but something tells me I think they're going to respond even more positively to this. So it will be a very tough test for Brentford, especially as Wigan are very tough to break down. They've actually not conceded a goal since restart started. With 7 clean sheets in a row is absolutely incredible, but I think with the highest scorers of the championship, I think eventually that clean sheet streak is going to end. I'm going to say a 2-1 victory to Brentford. I think it will literally be 1 goal in there. It's going to be really, really tight. FIFA thinks it will be a 0-0 draw. It could very well happen, but I think Brentford, for how free scoring they have been, the top scorers of the division now, and with Wigan with their clean sheet streak, it's going to be tight. It'll be attack versus defence, so it should be interesting, but I think Brentford will edge it. Next up is Bristol City versus Cardiff, the 7-side derby, and I remember the reverse fixture very vividly with Josh Brownhill scoring a stunner, and it caused me to drink a cider live on camera, but I'm not going to do any of those silly bets again, so don't try anything with me. Two teams in very different runs of form. Bristol City just look like they're in freefall at the moment. They are on a streak of 8 games without a win, only picking up 2 points, which is not great for the club. In terms of Cardiff, it's going to break Bristol City's hearts, who looked like that they were absolutely cruising ahead of Cardiff. They now look a million miles away from Cardiff. And the thing is, Cardiff don't really play such an expansive type of football. It's very similar to the ones that they've been playing under Neil Warner. But I think under the new managerial bounce, and I think the confidence, the new philosophy, the organisation, the training techniques, I think Cardiff have taken it to it very well. They've beaten some big teams already, Preston and Leeds. I think Cardiff could be one of the favourites to get into the top 6. But because it's a derby, I think this is going to be very cagey. I could even see it ending as a 0-0 draw. But I think one team will get the breakthrough, but I think it'll be cancelled out. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw, which I think Bristol City fans may take at the moment, following that they've not picked up many points. FIFA thinks it's a 0-0 draw. Honestly, I was so close to predicting 0-0 as well. Should be an interesting game though. The next game to predict is Stoke versus Barnsley, a huge game in the relegation 6-pointer. It is 22nd going up against 23rd. If Barnsley win, Stoke will be put into even more jeopardy. One of these teams needs to win if they want to boost their chances of survival. And honestly, Barnsley look like the team that you should back right now, because Barnsley put in a terrific performance against Blackburn Rovers. Kieran Ludwig with a fantastic looping pass to Connor Chaplin, who got the first goal, and of course Alex Mowatt sent Jacob Brown through a perfect through ball, counter-attack goal past Christian Wharton, and that is how Barnsley won. They were defensively very well organised as well, really kept Blackburn at bay. Stuart Downing putting in a few dangerous crosses, but apart from that, they really nullified Blackburn completely. As with Stoke, they conceded 3 goals against Wigan, which is not a good sign for them. They look really, really tired, lethargic, out of ideas, and a lack of fight and hunger. You would never associate that with Stoke City. Maybe against Barnsley they can step up for this one. I don't know, I'm really nervous seeing Stoke play, and maybe they could be the team that does get relegated, which would be a real shame following how much they've achieved in the past decade. If I'm going to back the team with the better form, it's going to be Barnsley, and in fact I'm going to do that. I'm actually going to think Barnsley are going to keep a clean sheet and get a win to put Stoke in trouble. I'm going to say a 2-0 away victory to Barnsley. Of course, Stoke can prove me wrong, which they do have the attacking players for it, but I just think Barnsley are the better side right now, so that's why I'm going to predict them to win. I'm going to say 2-0 Barnsley, and in fact, before we move on, we finally have a goal from FIFA 20 Simulation. Let's see who they think is going to win this relegation 6-pointer.
It is Barnsley that got the crucial goal in the relegation 6-pointer in the 33rd minute. Mike Barr heroically keeps the ball in play and somehow defying the laws of physics, that dive for the ball made the perfect cross for the perfect height of Jacob Brown, who powerfully heads it past Jack Butland. Barnsley get the crucial win and overtake Stoke in the table.
Interesting, so FIFA 20 actually agrees with me that Barnsley are going to win. Should be a really tight game though. Stakes are so high. We now go to Sunday's games. We now have Swansea going up against Sheffield Wednesday, and in fact I should tell you from then on, we've got no goals from FIFA 20. So the final 3 games FIFA 20 has got as a 0-0 draw, so no more FIFA fake gameplay unfortunately. But as with Swansea and Sheffield Wednesday, Swansea I think will feel quite lucky they got a point following that Bilkowski couldn't really deal with Ream Brewster's pinpointed perfect free kick. As to Sheffield Wednesday, they had a very poor defeat against West Brom, 3-0 at home as well. They just really weren't at it. They did not approach the game with the same amount of confidence they had in their past 2 games. Seeing that victory against Bristol City, I thought that might kick on Sheffield Wednesday's season, but it hasn't really quite done that, hasn't it? It's going to be quite a tough game, I think. I think Swansea at home are not as strong as they are away from home. I think they really rely on the fans, Swansea, but Having said that, I think Sheffield Wednesday are not the toughest opponent that they can face, and I think this will be tight. I actually see plenty of goals in this game. I see both teams going at it, and watch, it will be a 0-0 draw now that I've said that, but I'm going to say a 2-2 draw. I think it's going to be a very entertaining game. FIFA, of course, thinks it's a 0-0 draw, so we'll see who's right. Next game we have is Middlesbrough going up against Queen's Park Rangers, both teams with very poor defeats. Middlesbrough lost a relegation 6-pointer against Hull City, with Malik Wilks scoring in the 90th minute, which is absolutely heartbreaking for them and Neil Warnock, especially as they took the lead from the penalty spot, which I think was a penalty, although I will talk about Hull later. That Herbie Kane free kick was absolutely incredible. He's going to be the man you need to take for free kicks at the moment. But going back to Middlesbrough, they looked really poor. Apart from that penalty, they just did not look all that threatening. Looked a bit toothless going forward. As for Queen's Park Rangers, they shouldn't feel disappointed with themselves, because actually they had a very positive performance against the Fulham side, you know, with better quality players as well. They really took a game to them. Ryan Manning is unlucky he didn't score. He had his header crash off the crossbar. Jordan Hugill had plenty of chances. Marek Rodak was on form in this game. I think, however, this game's going to be quite the opposite from that head-to-head game against Queen's Park Rangers and Fulham. I think it's going to be very cagey, very tight. I think Middlesbrough are going to be playing for a point. So I'm going to say a 0-0 draw and a clean sheet for both of these sides, which I think both of these sides would take, actually. FIFA also thinks it's going to be a 0-0 draw, the second game I'm agreeing FIFA on. Hopefully it won't be a stalemate, but that's what I think. And the final championship game to predict this weekend is West Brom going up against Hull City. This could be an absolute demolition, or this could be an absolute shock and Hull getting an away victory, because it's the championship and you only see results like this happen in the championship. Both of these sides with a win as well to brag about in midweek as well. West Brom with a very good 3-0 away victory against Sheffield Wednesday. They'll also be proud that they managed to keep a clean sheet as well. In fact, they have kept 2 clean sheets in their past 3 games post-lockdown anyway, so their defence has not really been that tested. It's only been Brentford that have managed to breach that defence, but they've managed to end their 4-game goal drought, so they'll be happy that they can now start scoring again. Charlie Austin getting on the score sheet. As with Hull City, they have finally won in their past 16 games without a win, and this could be such a huge victory for Hull. It has already slightly boosted their chances of survival, not completely, but it has slightly boosted them, and of course the 12-point deduction for Wigan could also boost their chances as well, but they need to keep picking up points, whether it's a draw or if it's 3 points. I think if they get towards 50, they could be safe, although the fact that Luton Town, the bottom club, are already on 40 points with 6 games left, maybe 50 points is not quite a safe threshold for relegation this year, so this is going to be really tight. It goes to show how competitive the bottom half of the table is. I see plenty of goals in this game, but I can only see one team winning, and I think that's West Brom. I think following that, Leeds have managed to drop a few points recently. I think West Brom are going to try and go on a miracle run like Leeds were on before lockdown took place, and I think they'll try and clinch promotion for Brentford, because Brentford have really put these two sides under pressure. So I'm going to say a 3-1 victory to West Brom. I think Hull will have a little bit of fun, maybe even score first, but I think West Brom will take it. FIFA thinks it will be a 0-0 draw, which I don't agree with at all. Let's see who's right, and let's see if Herbie Kane can score another stunning free kick. So there you have it, guys. These are my championship predictions this weekend. Do you agree with me? Let me know in the comments down below. As I say with these series, you can always comment your championship score predictions in the comments down below, and if you get any right, your name will be shouted out and you will be on the Leicesters Hall of Fame. Hopefully we'll get some shout outs this weekend. Midweek was a little bit tough, but now it's the second half of the video, so I'm going to predict the League One playoff semi-final first legs, and I'm also going to predict the batch of Premier League fixtures this weekend as well. Let's start with tonight's playoff semi-finals first. So Portsmouth and Oxford, I think this will be a really tight game. I see goals in this game, but I think with the squad that Oxford have and their fantastic away record, I'm going to say a 2-2 draw. And with Fleetwood and Wickham had a pretty dodgy form before lockdown took place, and we'll see if they keep this form, although I think they do have a better squad than Fleetwood on paper. But I say Fleetwood under Joe Barton have a really good discipline, ironically, so I think it'll be a 2-0 victory to Fleetwood. Now for the Premier League games, Norwich and Brighton, I don't think this is going to be the brightest game. I'm going to say a 0-0 draw for that one. Man United at Bournemouth. Man United look on fire. Bournemouth look dead and buried. I'm going to say a 5-0 victory to Manchester United. I think they're going to have some fun. Leicester and Crystal Palace. I think Leicester are going to start winning again. Following that, Chelsea blew their opportunity to get into top 4. I'm still upset about that following my Twitter. But I think Leicester are going to win by 2-1. Wolves and Arsenal. I think Wolves may take Arsenal following their poor away record. I'm going to say 2-0 to Wolves. Chelsea-Watford. Right. What I've learned, whenever I predict Chelsea to win, they lose. So I'm just never going to predict Chelsea to win again. I'm going to say 1-1 draw. But psychologically, that should mean that Chelsea beat them. But let's not say anything. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw, and this could actually happen as well. Burnley and Sheffield United. Despite Sheffield United having a terrific performance against Tottenham Hotspur yesterday, I think Burnley are a completely different kettle of fish. So I'm going to say 2-0 to Burnley. Newcastle West Ham, big game nears. I think Newcastle are going to win. I think it's going to be a 1-0 victory. I think they're going to have a lot of confidence after coming off of a brilliant 4-1 away victory. Liverpool Villa. I see goals in this game. Liverpool, of course, in the back of that 4-0 battering against the runners-up Manchester City. Aston Villa are going to be fighting for their lives. I'd say 3-2 Liverpool. I think Aston Villa can really think that they can take Liverpool on. Of course, they've actually beaten Liverpool previously in the League Cup 5-0. So maybe this might be a tough game. Finally, Southampton and Manchester City. Southampton have got the poorest home record in the Premier League, so I'm going to say a 3-1 away victory to Manchester City. But that wraps it up. These are all the predictions this weekend. Do you agree with me? Let me know in the comments down below. As I said, you can predict your score predictions. If you've got a correct prediction right, your channel will be included and you'll be on Alexa's Hall of Fame. But that wraps it up for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys want to see more of me, please make sure you do give this video a like. It'll be tremendously appreciated. It really does help. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the channel. If you haven't done, please subscribe and please share this channel. It really does help. But thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of this video. And as always, take care.